Hello, thank you to the board for allowing me this opportunity to present to you the Columbus City Schools 3-year plan for moving towards student-centered learning, mobile learning. Our vision statement for technology. Each student is highly educated by educators who are highly qualified. Every student is prepared for leadership and service with the support of community partners, district officials, and other stakeholders. Each student is empowered for success and will demonstrate the ability to be productive citizens in a global community. Our vision for technology: all students entering pre-K will be introduced to technology. All students are to become technologically literate by the 8th grade. To this end, the technology mission for Columbus City Schools is to maximize access to a wide variety of current technology in the classroom and to provide the skills and culture that will best allow the district to integrate technology throughout the entire learning community. Each tested content area will be equipped with a Chrome cart. In our classrooms, technology will be used to access curriculum and enhance instruction needed for increasing student academic achievement. Each teacher will have the opportunity to receive professional development, which will allow them to provide meaningful instruction that will center around 21st century learning skills. All students will use the same technology in their everyday learning. Each student will be provided daily opportunities to master skills needed to demonstrate mastery on online state-mandated assessments. Operationally, technology will be used to manage student data and provide for efficient operations. We have a shared mission for 21st century learning. The planning participants that were within this plan believe that it was very important to share with the readers of the document their version of the Columbus City School vision of learning utilized during this planning process. There is a need within the district to have a vision of learning which permeates the entire district from the district level to the building level to the classroom level. That vision needs to mean the same thing to all people regardless of their position within the district. So we want to have a collaborative effort that is consistent. It was determined by that the Columbus City Schools mission statement and district goals contained basic concepts of our vision of learning. Talked about our mission statement. Each student is highly qualified, prepared for leadership and service, and empowered for success as a citizen in a global community. We're going to be using the Glenn Meeks. This plan is based on the AASA published book by the founder of the Learning, Moving Towards Student Learning, authored by Meeks Professional Service founder Glenn Meeks. The planning process provides operational overview of the issues requiring attention to move your district, our district, towards student-centered learning. It is a value to note that the Columbus City Schools leadership agrees with the philosophical approach of the Meeks planning process, and that's what drove our plan. The district must use its vision of learning to provide direction for technology initiatives and selection process. Technology is simply today's number 2 pencil and paper of old, a tool which supports the instructional activities of the classroom. The readers will see that philosophy throughout this plan. Initially, the initialization of the planning process began with the Meeks Professional Services, which will be referenced to as MPS. And then we will also have a timeline that will service as our plan development. So this roadmap document provides a working methodology to prioritize and phase various initiatives for the district across the 3-year span of time. Let's get into the step 1 of the process, the investigating. While investigating, we were asking ourselves these questions. Why should you invest in mobile learning? Why is the learning problem? What is the learning problem we are trying to solve? What technology do we need? What skills will teachers have to learn? What would be the cost of implementation? How can you facilitate acceptance? And how will you measure the success of the plan? Again, thank you to the board for allowing me to present to you today. I'm here to present the importance of investing in our children's future. Our children, all of our children, deserve the right, have the necessary technology to provide the personal digital education needed for our students to be prepared for our highly competitive workforce they will face. It is our duty and our responsibility to make sure we equip our students with the appropriate education they need to be college and career ready and globally productive digital citizens. So the Meeks professional learning approach, I'm going to have a diagram, and it's titled The Continuum of Learning on the next slide. It provides context and a summary of the outcomes of the MPS planning process. Above the centered arrow will provide the progression of types of learning culture from the teacher-centered traditional industrial school model that is going to be on the left to the deep learning and extremely effective individualized learning plans where we want to go on the right. The progression also indicates the types of assessments utilized to determine student academic progress and achievement. Below the arrows, we indicate the type of technology required to support each type of learning culture. Moving from traditional textbooks, manipulatives, and paper and pencil on the left to a total digital environment requiring digital content tools and one-to-one student to computing device ratio on the right. With this continuum of learning diagram in mind, the MPS planning process wants to enable the planning participants to identify where on the continuum of learning the district currently resides. It enables the planning participants to identify and prioritize district-specific hindrances and obstacles moving further down the continuum. And it also enables the planning participants to create goal strategies, cost estimates for addressing those prioritized hindrances and obstacles. It aligns the cost estimates for the strategies to projected operational and capital budgets for the duration of the plan. It also enables the planning participants to identify how far down the continuum the district should progress by the end of the plan duration of 3 years. So let's get into why we want to implement. So here's the continuum of learning, and it will answer the questions of why we want to implement mobile learning. As we are transitioning from the traditional model of instruction to the digital age learning model of instruction, we want to keep in mind these goals for implementation. So we want to move from traditional instructional model into the digital age of model. We want to move from the one-size-fits-all instruction to the personalized learning. We want to move from growth based on time spent, or the growth is based on the time spent in class, to growth based on demonstrated mastery of the content and being able to apply what the students have learned. Fixed places and times for learning, we want to move that to where the students have anywhere, anytime, 24/7 learning. We want to move from teacher-centered to student-centered. We want to move from printed, out-of-date, used, dominant resources as their main resource of instruction and learning to digital content. We want to move from standardized assessments for accountability over into assessments integrated into learning activities. Academics we addressed in isolation. We want to move from that. We want to move from having schools separated from informal learning experience that are outside of school and go into project-based, community-based learning activities, connecting the students' lives outside of school and having learning be merged with out-of-school opportunities. So on this continuum, which I had described earlier in the summary paragraph on the last slide, we've got our traditional content, our traditional culture, teacher-centered summative assessments, textbooks and manipulatives, pencil and paper, You move through the continuum and you have the typical district teacher-centered summative assessments, textbooks and manipulative pencil and paper, computer labs now, a few classroom computing devices, and I would say that would have been where our district was in the year of, let's say, 2009, 2010, 2011. And then slowly through the continuum, we are hit with the 21st century learning methodologies and formative assessments. You still have your textbooks, your manipulatives, some digital content, the minimum of 2-to-1 computing devices, digital management tools. And I would say that's where our district is currently, where we are now. We'll talk further about where we are now, where we want to be, and how we're going to get there. You want to move all the way towards this, where in our 3-year plan, coming from the middle of our spectrum, student-centered learning, which we want to go into total digital learning, differentiation learning, formative and competency assessments, and that's where you'll find the students' new graduation requirements even. We want to go into web-based digital content where we have a 1-to-1 ratio of computing devices to students and digital management tools, all the way towards the end of the spectrum, which individual learning plans, formative and competency assessments, and a completely web-based digital content anywhere, anytime learning environment for all schools, all students. Let's talk about some of the identified problems, some of the hindrances. What are our identified problems? Well, we can go back to that same model. Using the same model, we can discuss our learning problems that we want to solve. All of the below mentioned under the traditional model areas are areas of concern that we want to transition from. There are many teachers in the district that would benefit from appropriate professional development to help with the transition. We need to create a cost-effective budget that will cover the cost of the technology as well as the components involved with implementing a mobile learning appropriately. We will discuss the budget options further in the presentation. Other concerns include current equitable distribution of technology, educator readiness, buy-in from all stakeholders, actual usage of the technology, age-appropriate content being used, our current acceptable use policy and its revisions, expectation of use, rigor and relevance in the content, consistent use across the district, activities that are meaningful and will prepare the students for state-mandated assessments and student accountability. All of the traditional instructional models are portion size are considered some things that we want to transition from. Some challenges and strategies to getting there. School challenges represent factors, hindrances, and obstacles which, in the opinion of the planning lab participants of this plan, require action to assure a successful and efficient implementation of the K-12 technology roadmap in Columbus City Schools. These issues were prioritized into 3 primary categories by the planning lab participants. The first category represents high-level impact issues related to the acceptance and implementation of this plan. It is the opinion of the planning lab participants that the plan will be severely limited in its impact on creating a culture of 21st century learning in Columbus City Schools if these issues are not addressed and resolved. They are comprised of the following issues prioritized by the participants' impact scores: inequitable access to digital resources, provision of embedded professional development, and to revise and reorient existing professional development policies and processes. So with that, we're going to get into the specifics behind how we want to tackle these strategies and the timeline that we have identified. It will take to resolve those hindrances. We did state that, or we put in high-level impact issues, mid-level impact issues, and low-level impact issues, and we will talk about the timeline with all of those. it's going to, and we'll get back to the timeline and specifically when we tackle all four.